Go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were rolling here. Hey, hello, and welcome to Mike and Walter Talk. This is our first episode, and we're just two guys who like to talk and who we'll pick a subject, we'll take you anywhere that we want to go, that we're talking about. Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll disagree. By the way, my name is Walter Von Hune,
And
and you
I'm,
are.
I'm Mike Clayson.
And Mike and I are actually from California originally. We now live here in Washington in a community called Jubilee. The interesting thing about Mike and I, we both came from the same area of Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley, an area called Sylmar. We both went to Sylmar High School, about 3 years difference. He might look older, but I'm actually the older one.
Right. And I think it's
That-
amazing. I mean, if you and I had grown up, if it turned out that we'd grown up in the small town, we would not be surprised to have gone to the same high school.
yes.
But to have actually grown up in the city of Los Angeles, 8 million people,
Yeah.
and for us to actually live within 5 miles of each other and go to the same high school a few years apart is remarkable.
Well, that's
It's a
not,
remarkable
that's
coincidence.
actually, I a little disagree with you. I think that us going to the same high school, that could happen and everything. What's amazing to me is that we are now here in Washington, miles away from LA and the San Fernando Valley, and we met each other here
Yeah.
in Jubilee,
Yeah.
where we live. And let us tell you a little about Jubilee. Jubilee is a 55 and older community, and I wasn't too sure I actually wanted to move here because I always felt young, and it was my wife who thought, "Hey, let's go up there; it'd be better." And
You're not as young as you look, right?
yeah, no, I'm not as young as I. Yeah, exactly. And so we found this place. We built this house here, and we are in a development here called Eagles Bluff. And Mike lives right up the road, and we come from different backgrounds. Actually, Mike was an attorney. He had his own company.
Now,
Go ahead.
You gonna let me talk, or
No,
you just
no,
gonna,
no.
okay.
I like to go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, so I'll tell you about Walter. No,
Yeah,
so-
go ahead. No.
Walter's a layabout, no good Nick. Anyway, yeah, so I grew up within 5 miles of Walter. It's strange. I started off as a contractor, a building contractor, and then I found my way to the city of Los Angeles through the Department of Building and Safety. Went to law school at night, became a lawyer, and then I spent the next 22 years with the LA City Attorney's Office, first as a prosecutor and then as a civil litigator. And then after I retired from there, two friends of mine and I, we started our own law practice in Pasadena. And we did that for 6 years and then finally retired. My wife and I were adamant about not spending our retirement years in Los Angeles.
I agree on that.
It's too much, so expensive, and the quality of life is degraded to the point where it's just awful. So we had to get out of there. We worked hard to find a place to retire to. We looked in several western states, including Colorado and Nevada and Oregon, and we couldn't find a place. And then I just happened to see an ad for this place in one of those retirement newsletters, and I called up the realtor, and we flew up here and
Yeah.
checked it out. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah, and we were actually we were living in Northern California at the time, and we were there happily living there. And in 2017, we had a thing called the Tubbs Fire, which destroyed, with all the fires at the same time in October 2017, destroyed over 8,900 homes,
Yeah.
and 22 people lost their lives. And we were one of the people who lost our home and everything in it. And it was something that we thought about, and actually thought about getting another house there. And then we were evacuated for 2 years after from other fires that were coming into the area. And both of us said, we're living in fear of fire here. So why don't we get out of here? We like the climate up here. And one of the things that I found interesting, it cut me off if I'm talking too much. One of the things that I found
Yeah.
interesting is that we didn't know anybody up here. And we were a little concerned about how we were going to make friends. If we could find one couple or two couples to be friends with, even acquaintances, anyone, then we'd be okay. Because, it's friendship is something that you need. And we have moved up here, and I have more friends up here than I seem to have ever had in my life, except in the fraternity that I was in,
Yeah.
and they're in college. But it's amazing, and
I agree with you. I mean, I think as we get older, I mean, when C and I first talked, my wife and I first started talking about retiring and what that looked like, my vision was, that old Ponderosa TV show
yeah,
where you got the beautiful 3-story log
right,
cabin with a giant river running in front of it, and it's on 1,000 acres. That's what I was thinking,
yeah, yeah,
And by the end of our search, it was, well, where's the Costco? Where's the Trader Joe's?
right,
Where are the
right,
hospitals? And where are the doctors?
right,
And how are we going to build a community? Because even if we move someplace, again, how are we going to make friends? We're moving away from
right.
everything and everybody we ever knew. So how do we make new friends at this age? And that's where I agree with you. Where Jubilee has really helped. I mean, we have friends and we have a lot of acquaintances.
Right. Well, here's you say you have friends and you have a lot of acquaintances, and you tell me what you feel is the difference between a friend and an acquaintance. I mean, you could go back and do your work days and talk about that. Oh, by the way, did you mention what you did before? You said you were a
I
lawyer and
did, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I come from the entertainment industry. I have been a writer, a director, and I go way back to an old show that some of you might not know, some of you do if you're older like me, and that's called Happy Days. And that's where I was a dialogue coach on the show, and was blessed to learn the business there. And from there, after that, I started writing, directing, and being an acting coach to some people, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And anyway, that's our background. But my question is to you, you have friends. I have friends here,
Yeah,
and I have what I would consider acquaintances or people that I know, and I can say, "Hey, how you doing? Hello,"
yeah.
and like that. But I wouldn't consider them friends. So what is the difference?
I ponder that a lot, and I think also that watching my wife work, because she's one of the most social people I know.
Mm-hmm.
I really do think that women develop and maintain friendships differently than men.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the reasons why you and I are sitting like this. This is something I learned as a litigator interviewing witnesses, especially men, is that we don't do well eye to eye,
Mm-hmm.
face to face. Whereas women do. They sit down and talk to each other. They look at each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Right.
trying to pull facial cues off the people they're talking to, looking for little ticks and things like that. Whereas men, if we're doing that, I think evolutionarily, we are looking to see if you're going to attack us or
Mm-hmm.
if I have to attack you. And
Yeah.
so we're on the alert. Whereas if we're sitting side by side like this, we're not focused on each other so much as we're just talking, answering questions, and I think you get a more honest conversation from a man if you don't look at them directly. Sounds odd.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
look them in the eye. Yeah, exactly. But I do really think that it matters. So, in terms of the difference between a friendship and an acquaintanceship is, to me, number one, I think when you're trying to evaluate somebody as a friend, is how much can the filters come off? In other words, how
Aha.
much can I say and how much can be said to me without me just going, this guy's a crazy person, I'm out of here,
Right, right,
or you just offend the hell out of me and I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I think the deeper into a friendship you get, the more you can survive, sustain that. I mean, it just, at some point, like if you think about someone close to you that's a relative or some long-term friend that you've had for 30 or 40 years, you call a person up and just go into a rant, and they'll just patiently listen and say, well, what is your
right.
problem, right? Whereas someone who's an acquaintance, you're going to lose them. They're never going to talk to you again. They're certainly not going to have dinner with you again because of some of the things you may have said.
Well, what I know what you're saying, and I'm always curious because, again, I know a lot of people here in my little community, and I would say I have some really good friends, and then I have some people I know, and some who I would call acquaintances. I
Yeah.
don't want to have them like over for dinner, or
Right.
I don't
Right.
think I want to have the couple over for dinner. And Kimberly and my wife and I talk about this, and there's other people. You go, gosh, I really want to get together with them, and but you start off always with somebody as an acquaintance. You
Mm-hmm.
don't start off saying, "Oh, this is my
Right.
friend."
Right.
You got to get to know them,
Right.
whether you're on the same page or the same sync. On do you get along? And I know that there are people here that I'm going, I don't want to be friends with
Right.
them.
Right.
I know them, so I can call them an acquaintance. And I'm going, oh, they're not on the
Right.
same wavelength
Right.
as I am, and on the same pattern.
Right.
And with you, you are, as an example, you are. I'm an extrovert. I'm always out there. I'm doing things. My wife is an introvert, and I believe you are more introverted
Yeah.
than
I
extroverted.
think
So
that's
you're
right. Yeah.
quieter
Yeah.
and stuff. And one of my best friends in LA, strangely enough, named Mike, uh, he was an introvert, and he and I got along fabulously. We just had the best of times
Mhm.
and stuff. And now that I've gotten to know you, I would consider you a good friend.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
And even though I don't know everything about you, and I don't think you know everything about me yet,
No.
but I would say, oh, if you talk about Michael, I'd say, oh yeah, Michael's my friend.
Right.
Yeah, we talk about things, and that's how we decided to start this.
Right.
And I always wonder, what is it that changes from an acquaintance to a friend? Where does that
Well,
shift take place?
okay. I think also the other aspect of a friendship versus an acquaintanceship is that I think that friends can sit together and not actually talk.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just that they enjoy each other's company, just being next to each other and just enjoying the company of each other without actually having to say
Hmm.
anything. And I think also that's probably this is my uninformed opinion, but that's probably also a guy thing as opposed to from what I've seen
Yeah.
that women need to talk to each other, whereas men can light a cigar and
Hmm.
sit there and you know go through the process of trying to light it and smoke it and evaluate it, and then after a time, then deciding, well, I think I'll tell you about the cigar that I'm having. Uh, whereas if you're an acquaintanceship, it's like, how much time do I have left for this guy,
Yeah.
and how am I going to what am I going to do after I finish talking to him? You're thinking more into the future. Whereas if you're a friend with a friend and you're not constrained by anything else, you'll sit here and talk to the guy as long as he wants to listen to you, and vice versa.
That's true. But how many, let me ask you this. You're here in Washington now, and, you know, you've been here, you said 5 years or stuff. How many people that you can say, this is my friend? Uh, I have myself a number of people that I can say, I've got these friends that if I need something, I can call them up or talk to them
Yeah.
or anything. But I wouldn't call up an acquaintance. and say, hey, I want to talk to you. I've got this issue or I got this problem. And, but, there's how many I could count on one hand, probably the people that I feel comfortable with that I could tell things to about things.
Yeah. Up here in Washington, um, I would say that, yeah, I would say I would be stretching it to have enough people to fill a hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say two, maybe three people that I feel a true friendship with right now
Okay.
in the
Then,
past 5 years.
then that begs a question. And what is what makes somebody your best friend? What
Well,
makes us somebody your best friend? I have an answer for that, but I want to hear it from you.
well, I guess like when I was a kid, when I was 16 years old, I had a motorcycle. It was not a very good, not a very reliable
Mm-hmm.
machine. Broke down all the time, but it was all I had. I didn't have any other way of getting around. And I had a friend, one of my best friends, had a pickup truck, and I knew I could, and I did. I could call him anytime, day
Mm-hmm.
or night, and he would come and get me.
Mm-hmm.
Just that was it. So that to me is kind of like friendship. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Somebody you can rely on.
yeah, someone you can, if you've got a problem,
Mm-hmm.
he might be able to help you, and he certainly will do his best to try and help you.
I agree with you, but I think it's more than that too. I think yes, somebody you can call and rely on and saying, "Hey, I got a issue here. Come
May not
over
be
and
able
help
to,
me."
may not
But
be able to help you, may not be able to save you, but he's probably going to drown with you.
yeah, yeah, okay, okay. But isn't it also if you've got a really true friend or a good friend, it's somebody that you can really talk to and somebody that you can say, hey, here's what's going on with me. And I couldn't tell these other
Yeah,
people, but I
yeah,
could talk to you.
yeah,
And maybe you could tell me what to do. Or if you
yeah,
don't know what to do, you can say, the hell, I have no idea.
yeah,
But at least you can communicate and talk. And I wonder how many people don't have really good friends or true friends out there. And, that's why I was saying friendship is important because you communicate, you get things off your chest,
yeah,
you can talk, you can say, hey, this is an issue for me.
yeah.
And like Michael and I, we walk sometimes. And
Not too far.
no, no, we're old. Look at us.
A great disappointment to my wife in that department, but
Yeah. But here we are, and, we just started talking about things, and
yeah,
we started saying, hey, what do you think about this? Or how do you feel about that? There are other people that I've known that I would have a conversation, and after the first 5 minutes, I don't know what the hell to say to them because there's no chemistry, even between guys. There's no chemistry where you go, this is like, what am I going to do next?
yeah. No, I'm, meet a lot of people, um, and I mean, sometimes if you're someone who's perfectly fine, a perfectly likable guy, they may have a focus and an interest, and once you've exhausted that, then you're just kind of looking at each other,
Yeah.
going, "Well, what what else do you know?" Whereas some other
Yeah.
people, you can talk about nothing. You can spend a couple hours, and and Cindy will ask me, "Well, what did you talk about with Walter?" I said, "Nothing worth repeating.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
just bullshit each other."
Yeah.
So that
But don't
is,
don't you find people that you might meet and you're getting together and maybe Cindy has a friend or something and you get together and the next thing you're going, I don't know what the hell to talk about here. There's nothing
yeah,
in common,
yeah,
no interest
yeah,
of anything.
right,
And
right.
uh,
And to me, there's different kinds of guys I met. Some are they're just focused on their own thing. They just want to talk about their own thing.
yeah, right.
And then there's other guys who they don't want to. They just don't want to talk. I mean, I've had. I think I mentioned this to you before. There's just a few people in my life over the years that where I met them, I instantly don't like the guy.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
that, but the feeling is mutual. He didn't like me either,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's really obvious, and it's not like we're openly antagonistic. It's just that the chemicals are wrong. I mean, I don't want to be
Yeah.
around this guy. This guy doesn't want to be around me.
Right.
And there's nothing we can say or do that could fix that. We
I,
just want to get away from each
I
other.
think you're right, and I think a lot of it is quote chemistry. There is something about chemistry in our body.
Yeah.
I don't want to say body odors, but our whatever we exude and stuff that makes us also like somebody or not like somebody.
Yeah.
I used to date some girls, and I would basically come away from that date going, "Oh my God, I never want to be with her
Yeah.
again," because there's just something
Yeah.
of a chemistry imbalance
Yeah.
between us. But here's another question for you, Michael,
Yeah.
and that is, over the years, we have good friends. We
Yeah.
have friends. We have good
Yeah.
friends.
I have some
And
that they're
things
50, 60 years old.
things change, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whether you move away or you stay wherever you are, your friendships change and evolve. And some of that might be the maturing process that we go through when you're younger, when you're in your
Yeah.
teens or 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. And all of a sudden you change and evolve, and somebody goes off in one direction, you go off in another direction.
Yeah.
But what is it besides that we lose our friends over time?
Yeah. I think all life is loss. I think I mean, we lose, we lose our skin cells. We're losing. I mean,
Yeah.
we are aging and losing moment by moment, and our friends drop off, our loved ones drop off, and it's all about trying to replenish what we can if we can possibly do it. But like I have two really old friends that
Older than us?
well, what I mean is we've all known each other
Oh,
since
I
we
see.
were
I see
eight
what
or
you're
9 years
saying.
old.
I was going to say that.
And one of them is the guy that used to pick me up in his pickup truck.
Uh-huh.
I am still friends with him. Now, I haven't spoken to him for, I would say, 5 years, but I know that I can call him right now
Right.
and ask him to come and pick me up.
Right.
I know I can do that. The other guy, and he will. And the other guy is someone that I talk to periodically also, but we talk about the past.
Right.
We don't, I mean, we kind of try and talk about the future or about what we're doing. But it all just devolves back into, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And that's kind of fun,
Yeah.
to
Right.
go down memory
Reminisce.
lane. We do that. And then we don't talk to each other for a couple more years. And then we circle back around and do another one of those.
Right. Right.
So those are, they're
But-
kind of like, they're like friends that I've just kind of put on a shelf, and they're there and they're still my friends, but I'm not really, if they were a book, I don't open them very often anymore.
Right. Right. But that's the point. Is there are friends you have from the past
Yeah.
who you lose contact with, and then if you get back together, all you do is
Right.
talk about the past.
Right.
Hey, do you remember when we did that and we
Right.
were drunk and we
Right.
were silly, and
Right.
versus talking about today
Right.
and what's going on today?
Well, like with you and me, we're new friends, but
Yeah.
I think we're getting to become good friends. But there's still areas that we haven't talked about. Like, we don't talk about politics at all.
No.
You and I don't. And I think we both have decided that's probably something we will approach at some point, but we
Yeah.
haven't gotten there. So that's what I'm talking about, barriers. So barriers come down. That barrier is still up. I'm not sure what else we don't talk about.
We haven't talked about religion or spirituality.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about
we
that.
haven't talked about that.
But to me, that's not as hot button as, say,
Right.
politics. Although you could argue that politics is a new religion. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people treat it that way.
Do you think, here, a question for you, like, let's say,
Yeah.
you have other friends and you get together and there's two other couples. And
Sure.
you like both the guys
Yeah.
and stuff. And they come over and everything. But those two guys really don't like each
Oh,
other.
sure.
And they're there with you, both your
Yeah.
good friends.
Yeah.
And you're there and you're seeing that the quote chemistry
Yeah.
isn't right. And so, how do you handle that then? What do you do besides not never inviting them all
Yeah,
over at the same time?
I haven't had that exact experience, but what I have had experience with is where some guy I like, my wife doesn't like his wife,
Oh,
and man, that will kill a relationship like
yeah.
nobody's business. I mean, my wife's very social and very gracious,
Uh huh.
and will certainly have them over for dinner
Yeah.
and let me talk to them. But it all the time that she's being the great hostess, I know she doesn't like the wife,
Right.
and it's real clear she doesn't like the wife. So that's a tough situation, and the reality is that those relationships they tend to fail, they go away.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas on the other hand, my wife makes friends with some women that she likes, and it's just up to me to get along with the husband. I mean, I just got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you do that, and you do that for your spouse,
Hmm.
and because they get along so well, and then we, like I said, there's people here, and my wife is an introvert also. Kimberly is introverted, I'm extroverted, and as she explains, you go to a party and it brings me up, and I want to go, and and meeting all these
Yeah,
people and
yeah,
talking, and she is just saying, this is great, I like this, but I'm done, I want to
yeah,
go home
yeah,
and stuff. And it's a whole different thing if you're an introvert or an extrovert. And yet in a friendship, to me it doesn't matter, because I had, like I said, one of my best friends, Mike, was an introvert, and the other Mike, there were three of us, myself, Mike, and Mike.
really,
And yeah,
that's
and
interesting.
they were, one was an extrovert like me, one was an introvert. I got along with both of them just great, without any issues or any problems.
Yeah,
And so I always find that friendship is interesting, and how you become friends.
yeah,
Because I remember you coming to our Christmas party a year ago, and I didn't know you from Adam. And I felt that you were a little fish out of water there, because you really didn't know the other people. Cindy did,
yeah,
but you didn't. And
right.
so I thought, I'm going to try to make you feel comfortable and spend time with you while you were here. I don't know if you remember
I
that.
do. Yeah,
And so I thought, okay, this is a nice guy. I don't know you. I'll get to know you. And that's, I think anyone who has a real good friend or a true friend, it's invaluable
yeah,
for your own personal health.
yeah,
I believe. I'm not a doctor, but I think that friendship is just invaluable to you and to anyone. And
yeah,
I think that acquaintances can become friends. And for that matter, a friend can all of a sudden turn out not to be a friend
yeah.
for whatever reason it is.
You can also outgrow friends too.
You can outgrow friends. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, we all change.
yeah, we do.
As when you're young, in particular, I had a great friend growing up named Mark, and we were great friends. And you know, till I was about 12, 13 years old,
Yeah,
and I don't know why, but things shifted, and I became friends with these other two guys who lived up the street, Oscar and Carlos, and they were my good friends. Then I go to high school, and I dropped Oscar and Carlos, and I had other really good friends.
yeah,
Then I went out of high school, and I literally never saw my high school friends again, and I had my college
yeah,
friends.
yeah. An extreme example of that was when I was going to high school,
Hmm.
and my my closest friend uh, was someone who he was Latino, and um, we were inseparable through
Yeah,
junior high school, high school. We were just
yeah,
the closest, and then that was in the summer of '69, which was
mhm,
all that unrest.
yeah.
He fell in with the La Raza
Oh,
movement,
did he?
and he made it really clear he didn't want anything to do with me.
I'm going to do something here.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you. Now that's full service.
That is what's called friendship.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Or is it
I'm not.
control?
I'm not. I'm good. Yeah, exactly. So,
So
so
he fell into the La Raza movement
yeah,
and just did not want anything to do with me. Uh, and but we had been friends for so many years, and I, we separated, and then I got out of high school, and I lost track of him. Then I get a phone call from him, and he was in trouble, and he was involved with some kind of a deal where he needed some stuff stored so that the cops couldn't find it. And he wanted to know.
drugs.
It had to do more with hi-fi equipment, stereo
Oh,
stuff, and
okay.
that he had acquired somehow or another,
Yes. Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
wanted me to store it, and he asked me if he could put it in my garage, and I hadn't spoken to him for 2 years,
Huh.
and he calls me out of the blue, and I said no,
Yeah.
you know. Now
Yeah.
if he,
You don't know where he's been in those
I
two
have no
years, and
idea
he's
what's
asking
going
you
on.
to do
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Not
I didn't take want to take a fall for possession of stolen property, which is a
right.
crime, and for him, I mean, like when he told me he didn't want anything to do with me, I mean, he was really uh, bad about it. I mean, I was really upset because I didn't have a lot of friends,
Yeah.
and for him to just say, I don't want anything, I can't have anything to do with you, like,
Did you
it,
have a lot of friends growing up?
no, I always had two or three, maybe two close friends,
Uh huh.
but that was about it. And I wasn't, I didn't have a wide circle of friends.
See, that's the. I did. I had a wide circle of friends. I was always having friends
Yeah,
wherever I was.
yeah.
Who do you consider today? Do you have someone you consider your best friend? I can answer it.
Uh, I don't think I have a best friend at this point.
I would say Kimberly, my
Kimberly.
wife, is
Yeah,
my best friend.
I could say that to Cindy, but is it true? I mean, and I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Okay, like where I used to live, I had some pretty good friends. Um, Not best friends exactly, but
Yeah.
good friends. One guy in particular had a lot of pain in his life, and had lost his wife to breast cancer, and he had a daughter who was an addict. He was just so much pain, and he and I would talk, and I would relate to him some of the things that were going on in my personal life and what I thought I was going to be doing about him. And he literally saved me a couple of
Hmm.
times by saying, "Mike, look, you need to step back and take another look at what you're doing and what you've got, and rethink this and approach it a different way, and think about this a different way." He literally saved me two or three times.
Hmm.
Now, could you do that with Kimberly?
Yeah,
Okay.
I could. I could. And we
I mean,
talked.
would she give you advice you think that you would follow?
I follow my own mind, but we talk about things and we discuss things.
Yeah.
Discuss. That's a hard word for me. And we, I trust her with everything, and I think that's another word that comes into the friendship is trust.
Yeah.
Do you trust the person? Because what is the ulterior motive? Some friends that you might have, and you're going, they want this, or they're trying to do this, and you don't want. I've got a pretty good radar for people who want to take advantage of you. And which brings me to one other point. There in this life, there are givers and there are takers.
Sure. Sure.
And even in friendship, there are givers and there are takers.
Right.
And people who will do things for somebody else and keep wanting to do that. And other people who will just take advantage of other people
Yeah.
and say, hey, that's great. Could you do this for me?
Yeah.
And so I think friendship is something that we all need, and I think it's something that is you can make friends, but make sure you have the right friends. And anyway,
But
I
but to circle back around,
mhm.
as I think we're kind of ending this, but circle back around is, I think wives are separate from friends, my opinion, because to take my wife. I trust her completely.
Right.
Completely trust her. She has all my passwords.
Mm-hmm.
She has access to all my
Sure.
whatever I have. She has absolute
Right.
complete access to. Um, but I don't know. I don't know.
If you would call her a true friend.
a friend is different than a wife. I mean, because for one thing, when Kimberly is advising you or
Yeah.
when Cindy's advising me, whatever you decide to do is going to affect them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And whereas with a friend, they can give you advice more objectively because whatever you do, it doesn't bother them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's not going to affect them any. So to me, wives they're separate. They're separate than friends. To me, they're different than a friend.
Interesting. I think on that note, Mike and I want to thank you for joining us and to have been a part of our Mike and Walter talk. And next week, we'll be discussing another subject.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.